Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Soul Cafe in the Church of Union. The team was very happy to be with you today. And before we continue and introduce our topic, we'd like to just introduce ourselves. So I'm Granville Campbell, and I've been in the Twin Flames Universe community for about 3 years. And I am joining you from South Africa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anupama, and I'm joining you from India. And I've been here for about 3 years too, from 2018. Yeah. So.
Hello, I am Paco. I am from Austria, and I'm in the Twin Flame Universe community for 2 years.
Awesome. Thank you and welcome. And thank you to everybody who's joining us. Please feel free to share your thoughts or insights around our topic today, which is the portrayal of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in religion. And also just from a unionist perspective, how the divine masculine and the divine feminine is accepted and shows up in their true form, regardless of their gender form. So one of the things that kind of stood out for me this week was quite an interesting post from Paco. So would you like to just kind of take us into your space and how that revelation felt to you and how you're processing this?
Yes, I had a session with Jeff, and he helped me to come to my true self in this place where I'm just my true self, what I'm feeling all my life. And the last year I tried again to be really feminine, because it is important to feel your true gender also in your twin flame journey. And I loved myself fully here, being a feminine, but every step felt hard for me, and I was not really feeling it in my heart. And in the session, I was just able to really stay in this space of my true self. And I was able to heal the blocks where I hold my true energy back, my masculinity. And now I'm feeling it, and I'm feeling it day to day, how it blossoms and how easier it is for me to live. Awesome. And how more secure I feel just living. In the past, I often felt so insecure because I never was authentic. Now I can be authentic and come from an inner authentic place. I can be in the outer more authentic. And I feel now really close to God the whole time, because I am connected to my true self, and now I feel God clear. Yeah. And God is communicating to me how much He loves me and how much He loves all my steps. And I just stay in this flow where I feel really loved from God, and I feel like how intense He wants me to do all these steps, which feel really easy for me, to reveal more of my true self, and how I feel so loved exploring my true gender. And it feels so safe to explore this true gender with God here in unionism. I never felt so safe in exploring my true gender in another Christian community I was in the past. There was always more important how I look on the outside and that I fit in, and not that I'm my true self. It's like there was also my low self-confidence came from, because I was more focused on the outside, that I fit in and that I'm not upsetting anybody. How I learned in these Christian communities I was. And here in unionism, I learned to come from my inner place, also feel God in my inner place, and not always looking on the outer side, on the outside. And so it is, I'm grounding a lot of this new feeling for me. And sometimes I feel like I'm 4 years old or 5 years old, because this was a time where I was naturally living my masculinity. I was accepted from my family at this time. I was like a boy all the time. Even my parents, sometimes people ask if I'm their son, because I was acting like a boy. And at some point I tried to fit in, and my body changed, and I become a woman, and so I hide my true self for over 20 years now. And this burden and this pressure is leaving me now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you know, and I mean, for me as well. So I've always had the sense that I had the more feminine polarity from an an energetic point of view. And so it's never really actually been a challenge for me, except that the label of gayness was kind of not always accepted. But from an energetic point of view, I've always known that I have the feminine energy, and so that's always just been who I am. And then at one stage, I actually thought that I was the divine masculine as opposed to a divine feminine. And for those kind of like 6 months or so, it was actually quite a challenging time because it was not natural. It didn't feel right. It was just the energy was wrong. And just like, you know, my reality became kind of messy because of it, because I wasn't living and being my true self. And through a couple of coaching sessions, I just actually came back to the truth of me, the authenticity of me, which feels so much better. Because there's nothing to do or be or say. It's just who you are. And when you are yourself, you feel so much more peaceful. And it doesn't actually matter what it looks like on the outside. And it doesn't matter how people receive it on the outside. Which is quite a shift, because you know we can't, I think we've been grown up, so specifically from a religious point of view, that the man is this and the woman is this, and this is how that the man is the head of the household and all those kind of things, and the woman must be subservient to the man and all those kind of things. And one of the things that one of the things that has kind of settled for me is not that anybody is subservient to another, but as the form of God in his masculinity, it does allow for the man to lead. And when the man leads well, the woman allows herself to follow because he is leading well. And so it's not subservience and being underneath somebody else's feet. It's actually that you can lead in this space, and I respect you to lead in this space, and therefore I will submit to your lead. Even though we're partners here, I will submit to your lead in this space. And in some places, the woman does lead from the heart point of view. But it is, it's taken me a lot of like energy to heal into the space of being the divine feminine and actually being open to receiving. And so one of the things that I healed through with my coaches, Keely and Kobe, was actually that giving and receiving is actually the same energy. It's actually the same energy. And I was like, well, that makes sense. It makes sense. And as a divine feminine, you are the receptive energy in the partnership, in the union. So, it's taken for me, because I lead a lot. I'm always at the forefront. I'm always giving. And I always saw that as two separate things. But actually, in giving, you receive. And in receiving, you give. Which was a nice kind of realization to come back to say, well, actually, it's not a different energy. So I can let go of that, I can let go of the rubbish there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about giving and receiving. It's kind of that loop, like that infinity loop, that as you give, you receive. It's a simultaneous action. So there is no real distinction in the feeling of the energy. It's more of how you behave with it. When you're receiving, you be receiving instead of trying to repel it. And the same with, when you're giving, you give. And I really love what you said about you follow the masculine's lead and you're letting them lead. And when you said you submit to their leading, it's so important to distinguish that you're submitting to them leading, you're not submitting to them.
Yes.
And that's where the whole imbalance with masculine feminine has stemmed from, thinking that the women have to submit to the men rather than to just submit to the fact that, okay, let the man lead, and in those areas where the DM is better to lead, and let the DF lead where in those areas where the DF is called to lead. And this is what brings the balance, and this is what it is supposed to be, but this is where the imbalance unfortunately has materialized.
Yeah.
And that's why we have patriarchal societies everywhere, and in some countries we have a matriarchal society, but it's meant to be both.
Yes.
It's not meant to be one or the other, because both bring that imbalance. And then when we try to heal it from that perspective, that's when the confusion comes in. Then who's supposed to lead if not the man? And how can the woman lead where she's never led before? Like, that's not it. It's not about you have to lead where you've never led before, or now we have to define, like you rightly said, first get into the truth of what your energy is, and from that space you will know what your energy is created to do, and that's what is leading. It's not about leading is not about telling other people what to do. Leading is about following what the guidance is telling you to do in your energy. You and then maybe that helps you to guide others, or helps others to understand, okay, this is what you mean by lead. I follow my guidance, and then take the next step based on that. It's not about
Absolutely.
making somebody your source. It's always about following your true source. Yeah, I really love what you both shared about feeling into your true energy, and it's so important because we take on gender specified roles, and then that's not necessarily in alignment with what we feel inside. So it's really wonderful what you both shared.
Yeah, and the nice thing for me is that I just feel much more comfortable. It doesn't feel energetically draining. It doesn't feel like I must be a certain way or I must do a certain thing. It's just peaceful to accept myself completely in that space.
Yeah. And it eliminates that feeling like, okay, if I'm feminine and I have to receive, then that's all I have to do. Okay, fine. I'm just going to lie back and receive. I'm not going to do anything. And then the masculine then goes, okay, so I'm just supposed to give, so I'm just going to keep giving and giving then. And then that results in further like, so there is a place where the feminine takes lead. There's the place where masculine takes lead, and only you can understand by understanding your nature and your energy and your divinity, and knowing what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it feels easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you both said. That really highlights, that this is where the imbalance is. And as you both said, once you felt into your true energies, it just felt so much easier for you to understand what you need to do and how, and let go of the uneasy feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And one of the things one of the things I actually wanted to bring up in terms of that Friday the 13th celebration that we had our conversation was also just around how the divine feminine has almost been left out of the history of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things for me was that, because at that point, the divine feminine was seen to be too powerful in terms of in certain spaces, and it was a very much patriarchal system, which then allowed for the patriarch to actually write the divine feminine almost out of history.
Yeah.
And so Friday the 13th is actually not a bad day or a bad number. Friday the 13th was actually the celebration of the divine feminine in history.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was quite interesting, because actually just from a history and from a religion point of view, the divine feminine was kind of almost pushed aside. And yet when we feel into the space, we realize that both of the divine masculine and the divine feminine brings such unique insights and energy and power and leadership to various spaces. So, it's kind of, almost that energy of, did we miss out on having strong femininity in religion?
Yeah.
Like, I know with well, from what I understand, especially from the Hindu culture, that women are quite celebrated as well, and lots of the goddesses have there are festivals around the goddesses and stuff like that, which I think is quite it's a nice celebration of the divine feminine.
Yeah. But that's the thing, it's only kept to that celebration and only of that goddess. The people then forget before and after that the goddess is representative of the divine feminine all the time, not only at the festival time. And
Yes.
you're right that this imbalance is what uh, made this possibility of women being written out of history happen, because once some man in history decided that only man should lead, um, it kind of went against their feelings, and also it went against the law, and also it brought about fear in men when women proclaimed their power and received their guidance and followed their guidance through, you know and that's what made them those the men who thought only men can lead and not the women to persecute those women, because they didn't want them to be in that power, because they felt that the woman is then going to topple the man over. But that was never the intention. Like, women coming into their power was never to imbalance man or throw man out of power. It was to retain that equality, that man and woman are equal.
Mm-hmm.
They are created equally, and they are created for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even if on the external, body wise, we look different, there is a purpose for why the body looks the way it does. But it's not that only man can be strong and woman is weak, or any of those kind of gender discriminations that we have um, learned and sometimes had to study about. We had to
Yeah.
really program that you're a woman, you're weaker, so you don't do all these things. Heavy lifting is not for you. I mean, of course we don't want to lift heavy stuff, but
Also, no, I don't want to lift heavy stuff.
I don't
I can
want
tell
to
you that
either.
very much. I often have these conversations with people, and I'm like, I'm actually not designed to do those things.
No.
Like,
And
actually, somebody else can do it. I'm really okay with it.
yeah. And it wasn't really about the physical lifting of heavy stuff. It was also about the emotional and mental, holding of the emotional, of the what we felt was the heavy stuff. Like, and that's what we are healing today. Because, like you said, in Hinduism, the goddesses are worshipped because there was a time when the woman was also the priestess, not just the priest. And she was not pushed out of the temple for any reason. She was the head priestess in the temple, conducting all the rites and the rituals. There was no inequality there. It's just that once, as I said, I don't know who really in history decided that, this is not right, because then I'm not going to be as powerful, that some law was passed that women should not, and especially at that time of the month, and all these kind of, unnecessary things, and nobody questioned it, I guess, over time, which is why it remained. Nobody really stood up. And those who did stand up were just portrayed as, naysayers, rule breakers, ones that deserve punishment. And that's why when women sought to reclaim their equality, they were branded as, witches or lawbreakers, or, whatever they were called, and persecuted further.
Yeah, and the backstory of Friday the 13th was actually the celebration of the woman, because of the 13 cycles of the moon and all those things that are more feminine related in terms of menstruation and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that kind of stood out for me is the story that I read about when girls came of age, that the women in the village would take them into the forest to teach them about what is happening to their bodies, and those were always on the cycles, on the cycle of the full moon and all of those kind of things. And it was actually a celebration of womanhood.
Yes.
And it was just that kind of day became so vilified that we only know it in history as a horror story day.
Yeah, but we have some cultures. I know that in the African culture and in the Indian culture, some aspects, some people still retain this culture of celebrating puberty for women, for the girl child, really celebrating her when she hits puberty, celebrating it as what it actually is, that she is now come into her power to create, to create. And this is the beauty of it, and that's why it is still in some communities in India. I'm not sure exactly which all. It is a big celebration, it's a big festival, and the child is the center of the, all the attention. And of course, it's not just thrust upon the child. The child is also informed, like you said, of why this is happening and what it is about. And um, everybody welcomes the child into this phase of her life. She's not taught that it's bad, or not, it's an evil part of it, because that's what happens else in, that's the opposite side of this situation too. But it's actually celebrated. So you're right, like when you say that, um, Friday the 13th, and with the cycles of the moon, like it's all meant to, and the moon is feminine energy in a way, so there is a correlation. And it's good to remember that the divine feminine is meant to be loved and cherished and respected for the energy that it is. It is a creative, very without the feminine, where is the creation? How is the human or any race going to be sustained? In every species, it is the feminine energy that is responsible for the procreation, the creation and the continuation of that species, right?
Well, so for me, it's that joint thing, but the woman is kind of the channel that God uses to bring
create.
His children and
Exactly.
more souls to earth. So like just even that, because like that was something that I learned quite early as a Sunday school teacher, was that actually that reverence of the woman being the channel that births.
Yes.
And it's quite I think it's kind of it's such a powerful thing in terms of creation, to be the conduit in that space.
And that particular act also shows how important both energies are for that creation process and that birthing to happen. You can't have this one energy, do it all. You need both.
Yes.
Except if you're an earthworm, where both the energies are, but they're still, in
Still both energies, just contained in one
about
body.
both energies, but in one body, but it's still both energies.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful when these both energies are in harmony
Harmony.
and work together and create together. And this is what we are healing here in unionism.
Yeah.
This is what in the other religions is not where they are controlling how a woman has to be and how the man has to be. And now here we can come from our inner place and live it how we feel it. This energy of being a masculine. I'm just learning how I express it, and this is so healing.
Yeah. It's
Healing this, like you said, this was so wonderful, Anupama, when you explained now this birthing from the female and the masculine coming with the action and in harmony, this
yeah.
energies, this is so beautiful.
Yeah, and we are created to support each other. The
Absolutely.
masculine, feminine, created to support each other. We don't have to we don't have to do the same things or like the same things, but we are created to be supportive of each other, complementary of each other.
Yeah.
Now that's why we have the yin and yang. We perfectly meld into each other. So it's time to remember that why we don't need that, it's not a needy energy. That's how it is. That is the divine order, that we are meant to complement and support each other, not.
Absolutely.
And the imbalance is when one tries to suppress, like like either ways, like sometimes to reclaim the feminine superiority, then the feminine takes on a little more, so then that creates that imbalance again. Nobody needs to be on top of the other. We side by side.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to heal that. It's a long time coming. We need this healing to happen, to be able to talk about it peacefully, and but at the same time strongly, you know, saying that it's time. Let go of the differences, embrace the similarities, embrace the sameness, and embrace the uniqueness of
Mhm.
these two polarities. They are
yes,
unique, but they are from the same source, and they are unique because they are meant for certain things. So embrace that.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, just in terms of they are complementary energies.
Yeah. You see it
It's just
everywhere.
as simple as the fact that
Yeah.
they are complementary energies.
And you see it everywhere, even in flowers. You see that, the flower, there is the male receptacle and the female receptacle. And if they didn't have, those working complementary, we would not have seeds form. We wouldn't have any more flowers or plants or trees happen.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
this complementary is, seen everywhere. It's not just in our species, it's in every species. If you didn't have them work together, the co-creation and the continuation of that species, or even the sustenance of that species, would not happen.
Mm.
Even in a plant system, there is like the duties of the different polarities working very beautifully together. That's when you see those ecosystems thrive.
Hmm.
And the same goes for every species. So yeah, it's time to heal it. And in the human race, it's seen very clearly, the imbalance. I don't think it's there in any other species. It's there in the human species because we have this craze for power over each other.
Mm.
So that's what we're healing. We don't need, our power doesn't come from suppressing the other and walking all over them or being powerful over somebody else. Your power comes from overpowering ego, and staying in your peace.
Hmm.
That's where your true power is. And that's what we need to remember, that we don't need to overpower our brothers and sisters, or anybody, or any other species for that matter. There is a divine order into even why we are human, and so
Yes.
it's good to
Yep.
remember.
Yeah, to feel
Absolutely.
safe, to come from this true place, to feel safe as a feminine, to come from this true place with a masculine, and that the masculine feels safe
Safe,
being
yeah,
himself with the feminine.
yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right. The masculine also, it's healing because they also need to feel safe with the feminine. This imbalance, this power struggle is because of that fear that man
mhm,
will be overpowered by the woman's power, will be thrown
mhm.
off. So there is fear there. So there is healing. Like the masculine, we need to help them remember that there's nothing to be afraid of. Your woman is not created to overpower you. She's meant to, complement you and
Yeah,
support you, and likewise.
Yeah,
and
and
so
it's so much better to walk alongside somebody than to drag them along or push them forward. It's just such a waste of energy, and it's
Yeah,
such a leak of energy. So that complementary kind of co-creative walking along with each other feels so much better and so much
yeah,
healthier because it is a partnership.
yeah. And you're not responsible then. Otherwise, you're making yourself responsible for everyone else. And like you said, that's the leak of energy. Like, I have to force somebody to do this or push someone, drag somebody kicking and screaming. It's not nice,
No,
Or I have to
not at
be
all.
dragged kicking and screaming. It's not nice. It's not nice at all. So it's nice
No.
to walk hand in hand. And that's what God wants for us, that all of his children walk hand in hand with each other. That's why, like, love your neighbor, right? As you love yourself. But first, you have to love yourself. So that's why it's good to, like, to come back to what you both said in the beginning, to come back to understanding what you are, who you are. And that from that piece, you learn to relate better with everyone else.
Mhm.
It's good.
Yes.
Even for me, like, I'm really learning to embrace my feminine. Even I had those moments because I felt I had to do everything. So I stepped into like a masculine energy, and I let that rule my life for a long time. So I'm also learning how to be feminine, understanding that it's okay to, step back and really receive and relax. Where earlier I was like, no, 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 I can't relax. I can't relax. I have to do. But that doesn't mean as a feminine, I just have to like lie on the beach, sipping.
It would be fun though, wouldn't it?
No, I don't have to do that. That's just like I can't just do that. Like, no, there is action. It's not about inaction. You're not receiving and just not acting. There's action from being in your feminine, yeah.
Yep.
And action from being in your masculine. So it's very important to heal that, to remember, to be in that.
trusting this good feeling.
Yeah,
Your action is just maybe um, healing your body, and your man loves that
hmm,
because you're doing it for your union.
yeah. And for me, what my action is just walking in that energy every day,
Yeah,
taking that step to claim that and walk in that energy, and just be in that energy, and then guidance. I don't have to know everything that I have to do with this energy right now. And I can just take that one step, and that's it.
yeah, that's this good feeling
Yeah, the good feeling.
that
Absolutely.
guides you.
Yes. Yeah. It's wonderful to get back to yourself. And that's what we
Yeah.
learn, to get back to ourselves. And then from that space, connect with our brothers and sisters. And then the connection is, like how we've been connecting every week. It feels better and better, like, to talk about, these topics were very, and still are very touchy subjects, but
Yes.
we
Yes.
are comfortable sharing and talking about it, and sharing our healing, and also sharing the contrast we've experienced,
Hmm.
because we are getting more in tune with who we are, and we're able to relate to each other so much better. So,
Yeah. And it just feels healthier to relate to somebody or anybody for that matter from your authentic space, from your authentic truth.
True.
Because when you are, and for me, it's, you know, it's one of those things where when I thought I was the divine masculine, I felt heavy.
Mm.
I felt very heavy, and things just felt like they were kind of almost falling apart.
Yeah.
And once I just relaxed into my authenticity, or into the authenticity of me, the lightness returned, and the fun returned, and the joy returned. And, you
Yeah.
know, there are those times where things aren't so much fun, and we you know, we heal the upset quite quickly. But it's so much lighter when you are in your core you.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, because you've put the round peg in the round hole.
Yep. That's literally it.
Trying.
That is literally it.
Little. Yeah. Because I understand what you mean. When I was trying to be the masculine energy, everything just felt so heavy and so tiring. And I was always exhausted. And I didn't know why. Like, and of course not happy. But you know, coming into my own, it's feeling lighter. Just by, like you said, embracing your true self and embracing what you are meant to do. So yeah, put the round peg in the round hole. This has been something that has been coming up very often these past 2 weeks about which goes where.
Hmm.
Yeah, good to feel this.
How are you guys feeling?
Hmm. Yeah, this is something that we brought up last week also. But you know, when we heal this in ourselves, then these religious wars that happen, if you see that the war is not just between different religions, within the religion also there is the war, you know, and this shows us, if you look at like from the mirror, this is the war that we have with each other, you know, like the religions with each other, and the war that we have within, which is the war that we have within religions. Because when we're not at peace within ourselves, when we're at constant warfare, because we're not really sure of what our energy is, what our, you know, polarity is, you know, till we bring peace there, we can't heal this religious disparity between within religions and between religions,
Hmm.
you know, or between genders and within genders. The same you see everywhere, like between genders and within genders also there's so much of a war happening.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of the war within. And the only way to heal the outside is to bring peace to the war within and end it.
Yeah. And you know, for me, it's that energy of resisting yourself.
Mm.
And so what you find is that you see a lot of resistance around you, because at the core you're actually resisting yourself. So nothing can actually flow.
Yeah.
And if there's no flow within you, there's no flow around you.
No. And we can check back, like, why are we resisting? Is it because we're like the same round peg in a, you know, square peg in a round hole? Is it because we're trying to fit into society's description of us and ignoring our own guidance of us?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and so being in this flow of God feels easy.
Yeah, like you experience, right? Like
Yes,
when you explode, and like you said, you explode both, and you're
yes,
going with what really feels good, regardless of what society or is telling you that no, your body is like this, so you must
yes.
follow this, and it feels much better. So you don't, you know, this is the healing.
And I feel at peace now, like you said.
Good.
I
That's
feel
good.
peace in myself now, with
Yeah.
myself.
And
So
when
I,
you're at that peace, it's so different, right? When you're relating
yes,
to other people. Yeah, I totally understand what you mean, because till I'm at peace with myself, I can't relate to people peacefully, even if I want to,
yes,
you know, because something will come up to,
yes.
to upset the peace.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Something always comes up.
Yeah.
And you know, the nice thing about when the something does come up, it's always nice to understand that you can literally mirror it in split seconds, and your peace returns.
Absolutely.
And if you are living in your peace, that's the best place to be.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. Use the mirror exercise. Write it down. Just claim your peace all the time. It's a nice place to be in. That's the home.
So much more fun, right?
Yeah, it's more fun there. If you want fun, claim your peace. The fun is just there. Peace is not, you don't need to run away from peace thinking it's going to be boring, or you have to be in isolation. No. When you're at peace, it's so much more easier to relate to everyone, and it's fun relating to you and everyone around you.
Yeah, and and not just to just kind of bring the conversation just a little bit back to the unionist perspective on the divine masculine and the divine feminine as well, because I think one of the things is that because unionism is about love at the core, it's just so much easier when somebody is loving themselves in their truth, that everybody else within unionism also just loves them in their truth. And it's such a healing way of just relating to everybody, because actually what's on the outside doesn't matter when you are in your truth, in your authentic truth.
True.
And so the love is just reflected back at you all the time within the unionism space.
True.
Yes.
Yeah, how are you guys feeling? It's starting to feel a bit complete for me.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good too.
It feels complete for me too.
Awesome. Any last thoughts?
Write the mirror exercise down. It's your superpower.
It's your superpower. Awesomeness.
Tool to use.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. That was really great, and it's just so nice to share from a place of peace and a place of actually owning your truth. True. So yeah, it was really great to be with you guys today.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, would like to invite everybody to please like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel. You will find all our previous soul cafes and all other live discussions that happen in the Church of Union. And we will see you next week for another fun and juicy soul cafe.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.